Hello and happy Wednesday, guys. So I wanted to shoot a quick video today. It's a topic I was thinking about on the way home earlier in the car. And it's basically, I thought I would title this video, um, What if imposter syndrome isn't real? So before I get into it, the topic of imposter syndrome, that is, just wanted to give you a quick overview of where I'm coming with this. So in today's society, we believe what we think and what we feel to be the truth about our lives, generally speaking. So if we have a thought that pops into our head, or we have a certain feeling, we feel compelled to almost follow it, to definitely follow it a lot of the time. And we believe what our internal narrator or monkey mind, you might say, don't mean that in a negative sense, because all thoughts and feelings are neutral, ultimately. At least thoughts are. Uh, Essentially what we do is we sort of pick up the thread and we go and follow it. So we're listening to what our thoughts are saying and we're kind of taking them as truth. And if you think about that in terms of imposter syndrome, what we call imposter syndrome, if you think about it, really, you're talking about two words: imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome. Now, what exactly does that mean, right? So if you were to break it down, it's two English words that we put together to essentially describe a set of thoughts and feelings that we have from time to time. That's really all it is. That's really all we're talking about here. So it's nothing more than a description for certain thoughts, certain feelings that arise at particular times in our lives. And of course, it doesn't affect everybody. And these thoughts and feelings don't come up for everybody equally, right? Some people have them more than others. And perhaps if you're in a particular high level role, you're an executive or a manager or a business owner or a public speaker, you might feel it more than others. But even on a smaller scale, we maybe do think from time to time, do I deserve this? Am I in over my head? Do I deserve to take on this role or job? Can I handle this responsibility? Who am I to be able to do this or to say I'm able to do that? And you can see what the common thread is even in those questions or comments or statements I've just put out there. They're things that we say to ourselves, right? They're not even that we're saying them to ourselves, but they are things that the internal narrator would say, our mind would say, right? Our mind would put out there and say, oh, hey, who are you to do this? Or who am I to do this? So what's the one thing they all have in common? They're all thoughts, right? They just kind of arise and they spit out there. And really they're from a mind that is most interested in self-preservation and in protecting us, right? So our mind would rather us stay in a comfortable little box, not really taking too many risks, not putting ourselves out there, not taking on more responsibility, not applying for that job we really want, because it sees all that as risky behavior. It wants us to stay small. It wants us to stay in our little cocoon as much as possible, in our comfort zone as much as possible. And the mind isn't interested in ambition, really, or maybe from an egotistical point of view, but it's not really interested in striving and achieving and doing things that feel risky or uncomfortable. It's very comfortable with just being comfortable, and it'll do everything it can to preserve you and to kind of ward off any kind of risks or discomfort. That's its main job. And of course, it wants you to feel like you've got it, like it's got your back, right? So it's all kind of self-reinforcing, and it has like its own self-interest. So, but really getting back to thoughts, all of those things are, all of those kind of statements, right, or questions are just thoughts, okay? So really, how seriously we take the concept of imposter syndrome is directly related to how seriously we take our own thoughts and feelings, right? How seriously we take the thought of, oh, I don't deserve that job. Oh, that guy would never hire me, or girl would never hire me. Oh, I could never play for that team, or whatever it is. So if you take those kind of thoughts seriously, you could almost think of it as a sliding scale of, like, if you take them as like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 in terms of meaningful and serious and something to listen to, then yes, of course you're going to have feelings that you would describe as I have imposter syndrome. If you don't take them seriously, if you're at a 1 or a 2 or a 3, you might say, oh, I feel a little bit nervous about it, but I'm not going to take that to heart. I'm not going to buy into that. And as such, you probably won't feel what you would call imposter syndrome, the label you would give to that feeling called imposter syndrome. So really what I'm saying is that, you don't need to take your thoughts and feelings as gospel. Sometimes there's something useful in there, and you don't need to look for it. It will come up and it will feel like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But generally speaking, those kind of thoughts that are niggly and that are full of doubt and insecurity, I mean, you ask yourself whether they're worth listening to. Okay. So wrapping it all up, like, you would say that to the extent that you don't take your thoughts so seriously, you're probably not likely to believe that imposter syndrome is really a real tangible thing that you could touch or kind of reach in some way. That's my take on it. I'd love to hear yours. Leave your comments below. As always, if you've watched my other videos, you'll see a common thread emerging in what I'm talking about here. And what I'm really about is getting people to think a little bit differently, to challenge the negative thinking that they might have, to see it for what it is really above all else, so that you can live a happier life, a more enjoyable life, a more peaceful life, and help others in return as well. So yeah, I'd love to hear your comments. Please leave them down below. If there are any topics you'd love me to cover in another video, do let me know also. So hope you have a great day and chat soon.